So it's time to start. So I'm Tom Bizance, also known as Mr. Numbers, and I
Hello.
create pattern play math. Hi, Dan. And I am glad to show you just, kids struggle with math. And a lot of it is attitude about how they just not understanding it and not getting friendly with it, and it creates a real problem for them. So what I'm going to focus on today is the big help that a number wheel can be for kids. And if they understand the structure of it, if they play on the wheel, then even on the wheel with 10 dots, that's what we're going to really focus on, just playing with the wheel with 10 dots, because it's like a TV. If you want to know how a TV works and you start watching a program on it, you totally lose the reality that you're watching a TV. You don't see how math works or how the TV works. So what we want to do is we want to play with the wheel with 10 dots in ways that it starts making more and more sense. And then we put the numbers on there, and then then things just start, you have a foundation to build on. And so that's what I want to really focus on today. So I'm going to take you to my slideshow first. There are, numbers, and kids grow up around numbers, but it's like a foreign language. They don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to them. And we come at them with all these crazy words and ideas, and a lot of them really struggle with it. So it just is like nonsense stuff to them. And so that's what we want to realize with the start. That's the problem that we have. So what we want to do is we want to have it be simple, and it can be beautiful. And don't worry about what any of these slides look like, what they mean or what you can learn from them. Remember, you're looking at the TV, not at what is involved in it or what you can learn from it or that sort of stuff. Just really play with the reality of, that's the beauty that can be number wheels. And this is teachable, so all of a sudden we get all these lines that can just really be used to show how numbers work, that are really fun for kids. And it wants to just keep going, so I'm just going to speed that up a little bit. And if you got any background noise, mute it. It might be even on mine, I don't know. So number wheels can be really intriguing. This is just one of the many patterns, that I've found and played with. They can be real general, showing a concept, or they can be real specific and show real specific realities about ways to apply, how it works. They can be really playful. It doesn't make any difference what they look like, as long as you have the 10 dots in the circle. They can be really hands-on. This is actually a 3D printer device that I created on my 3D printer. That just, the kids love to use rubber bands and make all kinds of patterns with it. It can be reversible. So when you know addition, you also know subtraction. Admit some more people there. And it can be really fun for kids. These are kids playing on a floor number wheel that are having just a great fun with that. And it can show visual concepts. You can learn lots of things. It's adaptable. You can just learn so many different fields of math or different directions that you can go in. Oh, and powerful patterns that just really can help you in so many ways. And it's good inside and outside. It's so wonderful to get kids outside learning math. And a piece of chalk and a string creates a perfect circle. And what we're going to learn today is how to place those dots and numbers on the wheel. That's really crucial for them. It's really pervasive. It's just, number wheels can just really help you understand all kinds of things for doing it. And yet, unlike a TV, which is hard to create and hard to understand, number wheels are real simple. But if you don't see the basic structure, I watched a lot of kids create number wheels, and they do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and they're halfway around the wheel. And then they do a 9 and then back to 0 again. You know, they don't understand the basic structure, and that's what we're looking at today. And it never ends. So this is actually squares, and that pattern just keeps repeating, and it goes back again. And these are colorful. You know, the more color you add, the easier numbers can be for doing it. And there's an incredible depth to it. What I like to do is basically only use one number wheel and one pattern at a time. But you can actually put them together and create some pretty incredible things here. All right. Now, Tuesday we talked. A lot of this is review for those of you here Tuesday. But the 3 foundations of pattern play math, or at least for the number wheel part. One is the SNL, not Saturday Night Live. It's simple number language, and a number wheel, and play. Putting those 3 things together help kids get a positive attitude about math. They're playing, and by the time they're learning math, they don't even realize, you know, it's not a big deal anymore. And it's not, can I do this? Because they already have been doing it before they ever get to it. Now, this is a example of the simple number language, because I want you to see that basically what happens is by the time you get to 20, it's all new words for each number. And there's no structure to that at all. And it's just like this unending thing. You get to 21, you start seeing a structure. But it's actually all these numbers that are all the addition and subtraction and basic things that kids learn. And by the time they're learning that, they're so lost, they don't even realize that we're on a 10-based system. And it's so important to realize that. So this is what it looks like for kids with the traditional number language, with all these words, really hard to understand words. And this is basically what simple number language does. Basically, just after 10, you do 10-1, 10-2, 10-3, and everybody gets that right away. It's real simple. And it just simplifies and makes math so much easier. And then you have 2 10s or 2t, 3 10s or 3t, 4 10s or 4t, 5t, 6t, 7t, 8t, 90. Sounding familiar, right? So the simple number language really gives kids a great foundation. Otherwise, we're really confusing them with crazy words. If you want to know more about SNL, just Google language and MisterNumbers, and you'll get some good stuff on that. So we just did simple number language. The second thing is a number circle and playing on a number circle. So you just saw the sun and the moon, both perfect circles. This is a review from yesterday, but there's some new people on, so I just want to kind of go through this fast. And our whole galaxy, the universe, is filled with circles. And circles can be really colorful, and kids play a soccer ball, right? And really lots of color on a ball. And there's the wheels of a wagon, are a wheel, a circle as well. So we have a simple circle, right? That's where we start. But the reality is that there's 10 fingers. And that's what our number system is based on. And kids need to understand that. It's so helpful to understand that our number system, and actually every number system, maybe with some exceptions, I don't know, but none that I know of, around the world use 10-based number systems. I mean, yes, in computers, because it's an on-off switch, use binary, and clocks use 12, and there's some other stuff. But for basic numbers, a 10 base is what everybody uses. So if you have 10, then what you basically have is 10 dots in a circle. 10 dots in a circle. Now, if you start with that, it doesn't make any difference how you name those. So you can have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, you know, and then this is K and it's A, right? You know, so you want to just see that the circle structure doesn't have to be numbers. It can be just, it's 10 dots. But if you do 10 dots, the same patterns that we see in numbers show up with the letters. If you jump 4 letters, you're going to create a star. Cool. Okay. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4 is easy for kids. So there's just lots of ways to understand that. So you can move this so I can see what it, oh, so there's 0. I'm just going to go through this pretty fast. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, right? That's one handful. And it's really important to know that 5 is half of our 10. And it's one handful, and in 10, all our fingers are 2 handfuls. Every kid can understand that. You really want to start with real basic concepts. And there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if you just start using the other hand. And if we put that around a wheel, and I like this one. So you have 0 up here, you have 1, 2 fingers, 3, 4, 5, one hand, and then you have one hand plus 1, one hand plus 2, one hand plus 3, one hand plus 4, and one hand, and both hands, all of the fingers. Real simple. So there's our number wheel. Now we can do it another way. And what I showed yesterday is like you can do dominoes. I really like the 5 dominoes, double 5s, because you have the 10 base. Now once you have the 10 base, you can actually have one color dot in there. And you can have 2 color dots. And you have 3, and you had a line, and now you have a triangle, or it's 2 eyes and a nose. Lots of ways to, in as many ways as you can play with it. And 4 is a box. And 5 is a ball in a box, if you want to do it that way. And then 6, oh, we just did the 5, and then you just start over again with 1, 2, 5 and 2, 5 and 3, 5 and 4, and double 5s. So then you've got your 5 and 10, and there's that. So you have your 0, all empty. And by the way, then these can become negative. We can get into that later. This is -1. If you go this way, you got a 10, and then you got, oh, -1, oh, -2. You know, so we won't get into that now, but I want you to see that if you do work with a 10 base, things that you don't even plan show up. I'm still learning from the number wheel. It just keeps giving me more info for it, right? And here are 10 dots. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 add up to 10. So that's kind of a cool thing. And if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you can put that in a circle too. So if anybody in the chat window, if you want to say if you like which one of those you like, I could do a survey maybe next week on that to see which one you like. But there's all kinds of the dominoes and the fingers and the triangles and in numbers, lots of ways to look at it. So we're going to go to my other camera. So here we have our circles, right? And you got one of these sheets, and you can kind of play with what's the exact top of the circle, you know, and what's the exact bottom of the circle, you know, so you can kind of there's like the sides to the circle. So it's a circle, but you can still see some structure there someplace. And there's also a center of the circle. Cool. And look at that. That center is right in the middle of going up and down and across. Oh, now we're getting into geometry. What we want to remember is we're 10 based. So we got a circle and we want to create the 10 base on it. Now, here we have 0, 5 on the bottom, right? Now that's a good way to do it. And remember that it can be alphabet, right? It doesn't make any difference how you do that. Here, let's use this, because this has just numbers, and again, don't get confused by the numbers, because all we're doing is looking at the 10 dots around the wheel, and we're looking at structure. So if we have 0 and 5. Oh, if we have the 5th dot is on the 0 is on the very top and 5 is on the very bottom. Okay, let's just do that. Okay, so I have 0 and 5 there. Now, if you have 0 and 5 there, then that's 2 of the dots. Well, if we count the dots, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this, hand, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side. So you have 4 and 4. That wasn't very clear, I think, for you, but so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm trying to keep it under 5 because I think it's really helpful to just play with that. So if we have 5, then that means we have, in the other thing that's really important is that the numbers are evenly spaced. Like I was telling you, some kids, create the number wheel and they're like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or they even do a 9 down here and just jump to 10. It's really hard to do that. So evenly spaced is what's fair. Kids like what's fair, and it's fair for them to be evenly spaced. You want to have that. And if you do that, then that means, if you really look at it, these two numbers next to this top one are the same distance apart. And that means that they're right across from each other. Oh, and so then the 2 and the 8, and the 3 and the 7, and the 4 and the 6, or the A and the J, and it doesn't make any difference what you're doing, but they're right across from each other. And this 1 is this to the right of 0, and the 4 is to the right of 5. And again, maybe I should just be doing this with letters so that you're not confused by the TV show that's on, because I want you to see how the number wheel works, how the TV works, to see that, oh, if they're the same distance here and the same distance here, then that's right up and above each other. And then the next number, and the next number here, they're both just exactly 2 spaces and 2 spaces. So they're right above each other too. And then over here, this is 1 space here and 1 space here. So those are right above each other. And then this is 2 spaces here and 2 spaces here. So they are the same distance, right above each other. And if you go right through the middle, you see that divides it this way and that divides it this way. So if kids, I really recommend you have kids create a number wheel starting from a perfect circle. Use a plate, a bowl, anything round that fits on paper, and then just draw around that, and you've got a 0, and then have them arbitrarily, And hopefully you can find something where you can find the center. If not, you can kind of work toward guessing the center, or that can be a whole nother thing to do. But then you want to find what's the top, and where we find the top, then through the center, then the bottom, and find that. And they're learning the world. You know, the world is made up of all kinds of circles, and circles are really important. And so you want to have them really learning that. So if you look at yeah, let's just look at this one. You're seeing the bigger picture, and that's okay. So if you look at this, then with 0 and 5, the numbers next to 0 are 1 and 9. And the numbers next to 5 are 4 and 6. And if you connect those, I call that the tall box. Okay? And they're all either right across from each other or right up and down from each other. Now, the numbers that are away from 0 and 5 are 2 and 3, and I'm going to use a different color for that. We use a green for that. We got 2 and 3, and we have 8 and 7. Now, if we combine those, oh, that's another box. And it's a great opening for conversation. You know, what you want to do is you want to talk to kids about how these numbers work and how the number circle works, and have them describe it and have them play with it. What I was going to do before was just go to 1, okay? So 0 and 1 are the only two numbers that add up to 1. And then to 2, you can do 0 and 2, and 1 is all by itself. Okay, 1 and 1 are 2. All right. Now 3, 0 and 3, and boy, learning that 0 plus a number equals the number is really important. If you start simple and kids really get that, it's really helpful. And I know one of you deals with special needs kids. So the more unquestionable, absolutely, okay, if you got 3, you know, if you have 3 and you don't add any more, you still got 3. And if you had 1 and you had 2 more, well, that's also 3. So you can do that. And then you can do 4. So 0, 4, 0, none, and 4 give you 4. And 3 and 1, okay, that also gives you 4. Oh, look at, they are in the same direction. They're like railroad tracks, just like these are like railroad tracks. Cool. And then you got a 2 over here. Well, we're dealing with numbers that are 2, and 2 and 2 are 4. Okay. Now let's just do 5. Let's go back up here to 5. And you do, oh, well, 1 and 4, right? 5 is this many. And so 4 and 1, that's 5. And 2 and 3, oh yeah, that's 5. And look at that. Now all 3 lines, none of them cross at all. So you want to really push for wonder and exploration and kind of, wow, you know, the more that you can feel like, oh, I didn't know that was going to show up, you know, then you're exploring with the kids. And that's what's really valuable, is if you're exploring together and learning, because it is a new world for most of you, right? You know, it's not the world that you were taught when you learned math, for sure. And if you learn it and play with it, it's gonna make it so much better for kids to play with and do that. So that's the direction that we're going in. And I hope that this was not too simple for you, but I just feel like the number language and the number wheel and understanding the wheel and understanding that any number you look at has a number that's either up and down from it, and everything except 0 and 5 has a number directly across from it. And that is helpful. That's a structure that you can actually make numbers come alive and make numbers easier for them. So having that foundation, that's what this today's sharing is all about. So I just want to get into, we'll really get into more next week. But I just really wanted to start from the very basic foundation. And I'm really looking for collaborators. So if anybody has any thoughts and ideas, share them with me now or reply to the email that you got the link for this. I really want to hear what you like, what you think. Anybody want to share anything? I see everybody's muted at the point. So if you want to,
I think it was very helpful. I find it very clear. Since I struggle with math a little bit, I find it clear and it makes everything easier. Like you get the basics done, and it helps you with all the other hard stuff in math.
Yeah. Yeah, the basics are just so important, and play.
Yeah.
Important. So you put those together, and you really learn the basics. Then you're going to like math, and then learning it just becomes really easy, and you have a structure, so you don't have to worry about forgetting math facts because you can recreate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, I think the structure is key, and because it helps with the literacy part of mathematics. You know, when people speak about literacy, they're always thinking about reading words and our alphabet and composing that way, but we tend to undermine mathematics, I think, too much, and we don't see it as a form of literacy, which it is. And if there's any language that brings the world together is mathematics. Yeah. And the 10 single digits that you have there compose every number known to us. So if there is a fine structure there, it becomes holistic to speak in a sense of a global scale, no matter what language you're speaking. You know, it sets a structure that becomes basically a standard, and it's easy for people to understand one another. So, and I really enjoyed what you did with the dominoes, negative and positives. It's such a, it's a simple thing, but it's not a simplistic idea, because it takes cleverness to think of something that we might look at that we don't see as being over complex, so we don't value it.
Yeah.
But you took a simple idea and it became very useful to me to pass on, especially with my kids.
Great.
You know, that are more concrete learners. So I really thank you for that, and that you've grown a lot of inspiration to me to want to play more with numbers, you know. So yes.
Oh, great. I'm glad you're a playmate on doing this with your kids and with us, because you know, I'm learning. This is really expanding how I see numbers, and I'm that whole bowling pin triangle thing was new this morning.
Oh wow.
I saw last night. I started that, but it's like a whole nother way, and you can tip them in directions, and you know, new ways to play, and that's great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.